Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Right On Network Countdown to 2021. Happy December 9th, everyone. We have a question here. This is Ashford, and I have Diane along with me. Hello, Diane.
Hello, Ashford.
Okay, this is from on Twitter at RandyKH172. Randy asks, how do you think Helena Wayne handled her last few hours in crisis when she found out she didn't exist anymore? The authors wrote her as a traumatized wreck, but she was also written as one of the most level-headed and calm superheroine in the DC universe. What did you think about that, Diane?
I think Randy essentially answered his own question there, because that's very much what happened. Yeah, I do think that if you put yourself in Helena's place, Earth 2 has just been wiped out from the multiverse, and it's been merged with, all the other surviving Earths, including Earth 1, Earth S, and I think Earth X was one of the ones that survived, along with Earth 4. So those worlds got merged into one world, and some of the heroes from her world were acknowledged, but not all of them, and she was one of the heroes that got wiped from history. So I think if I was in Helena Wayne's position, I would be truly traumatized by that. It's like, how could I physically exist, but my history is not acknowledged? My parents are not acknowledged. My Dick Grayson, who's Robin, is not acknowledged. No one in my family is acknowledged as having ever existed. I don't have a law degree. There's no record of me having actually lived. So if I was in Helena's shoes, I would be very traumatized by that situation. But at the same time, if the crisis is still not over and you're still being attacked by shadow demons and the anti-monitor, then yes, I think that Helena would put aside, her trauma and grief in order to do what she has to do, to protect the new world that she's on. But, if we assume that she survived Crisis on Infinite Earths and she did not actually die, in that fight with the shadow demons and the anti-monitor, I think that she would have, been grieving for quite a long time, and she would have been spending, a considerable amount of time, possibly years, processing her trauma, and then figuring out what her life's purpose is moving forward, And I think that Helena would have chosen to stay with the Society because they're really her family, and I think that she would have, especially become closer to Power Girl, because Power Girl is the only other character who has a similar status to Helena, although Power Girl is acknowledged, as still having existed, her history, as she knows, is still no longer intact. So I think that would have brought Huntress and Power Girl closer together, and they probably would have, helped each other out, build a new life together. And I think that the JSA would have helped both of those women, build a new life together on this new world, because that's just devastating to be in that situation where you had a history and a life 1 minute and suddenly all of that's wiped off the map, and you kind of have to start over from scratch, and you kind of have to create, an identity, a brand new identity on a world that doesn't even acknowledge your existence. So I would say that's quite tough, So yeah, I think Randy hit the nail on the head there, that yes, she was quite traumatized by the event, but she was also very level-headed about it. So I think she would have continued doing that had she survived post-crisis.
And I think that's what makes the character more interesting than all.
Of course, definitely.